been an interesting day. I set out with tons of optimism, which I have done most of my life. And of course, I didn't accomplish what I wanted to accomplish. So I didn't finish the job that I thought we could finish, but we're within 4 hours, I think, or less. It's more, some of that is setup time. You have to unload the truck, go in there and start, and everybody kind of fumbles around, and then you got to pick it up and put it back out in the truck. So you're going to lose at least 30 minutes both directions, and discuss with the owners of the house. So today I did drywall finishing, I did texture, I did flooring, I did plumbing, I did a lot of different trades. I did trim. Just disappointed we didn't finish. It's only because I had it in my mind that I could do it, and I think I could have if I'd stayed with it for another 3 hours, but it would take us into like 9 o'clock at night, and my guys were already acting like old men, and they're not. What I wanted to talk about, I have talked about before. As a matter of fact, we're getting to the point where after 150 plus live streams, there's going to be quite a few subjects that I've already touched on. And so this one is one that has been, I think part of the reason I keep bringing some of this up is because I'm getting pulled into circumstances where what I do as far as repairs, and as somebody who owns several mobile homes, or at least trying to own them, that has made me where I'm conscious of things that are going on. So like one of the things is a company that I do work for. I want to call it a couple, but they are a company. But the reason I would say a couple, because these are people who think that they can take business thinking and their type of business thinking and plug it into a mobile home park / buying mobile homes and things like that, where they really don't have any experience. And even if they did have some experience, they don't have the experience of repairs. And if they think that they could just calculate it by what I've charged before, they haven't met all the circumstances that I've met, and every one of them's different. I can usually keep things in a certain parameter, but not always. So with that being said, one of the circumstances is they have this guy on Facebook that is selling a mobile home, and they want me to go out and take a look at it and see if I think it's going to be worthwhile, and they'll be willing to pay me for my time. Part of that comes responsibility. So if I go out there and say, yes, I think it will not only move down the road, but I think it will be something we can spend a certain amount of money and make money on. That's kind of a responsibility that's a lot of responsibility for just a service call and a little bit of time. $165 or $200 is a pretty good consulting fee. It's really, really cheap for the consulting fee that they're getting. Pay somebody $200, $250 and say, hey, is this going to be worth spending $15,000 on? $30,000. The fact of the matter is my time can mean that much, and I need to embrace it. My opinion can affect that much. That being said, hopefully, if the guy hasn't sold it already, I will go look at it. But I've already looked at mobile homes for these people, and their circumstances I'm not aware of their financial circumstances. But I've given them one home they could have bought for $3,000, and I could have fixed the roof, and another home they could have bought for $5,000, and I'm fixing it. I'm fixing it. The other one that I went to, actually both of them, I went to these homes and said, hey, this is a good deal, you ought to buy it, and they didn't do it. Now, I don't know their financial situation, but I do know that I could have made bukus of money with it. Both of them. One of them, that lady that I'm doing work for, she's going to do fine. She'll rent it out to her cousin, and God bless her, she will do fine. But they had the opportunity to buy it, and they didn't listen to me. They not only second guessed me, they countermanded what I said both times. So here I am again, would you go look at it? And I'm like, you're going to have to pay me from now on. I've sent houses to them. So I'm going to share with you some of the things that I would be looking at if I were trying to buy a home, a mobile home in particular. This is what I'm talking about. So one of the things that you would instinctively look at if you're a repair person is the ceiling. But when I first pull up, I don't pay attention so much to the skirting, although I can look at skirting and tell certain things, but I would pay attention to the roof line, the edge where you would say little tiny gutter is. I would pay attention to that and see if that house is buckled or humped. It's been peeled back because somebody was trying to put in an awning. And, I would look at that roof line, and it's almost, I'd do it without saying anything. So I'm pulling up and I'm looking down, and I might pull past the end of the house and see by eye how straight it is. If it's fairly straight, I know that the underneath of it has been, sort of supported well and even. If it's like so, then I know that the inside of the house is going to be busted up. They might have tried to patch it, but it's going to be busted up. And probably when you go down the road, it'll bust up more. So most of your mobile homes are done with air nails, sort of like housing. And some air staples, sort of like housing, holding down plywood sometimes. It's nails, sometimes it's staples. There is some difference, but it's similar. And with a mobile home, it's meant to be lighter. So the next thing I'm looking at is the windows. And again, this is instinctual. I'm not trying to make it out as this is a checklist that I have. And it's probably one that I will write out whenever I do the book that I'm supposed to be doing. And we're going to have chapters and all that kind of thing. But I would look at the windows next. And a lot of times you'll see where people just globbed up stuff over the top of a window and trying to fix it, and sometimes it's not the window that's leaking, it's the roof above it. Not down here, and they're patching up and putting all kinds of, but it's running down the wall and hitting the window, and you're thinking it's the window. When the window, it might leak inside of the window, but because it's the roof. So I look at the windows, see if they're all broken out, what kind of window units they have stuck into them, because that reflects, on the cheap side, a couple hundred per window for glass that's broken. And it's not going to be just the glass that's broken on the outside or the inside. It's going to be the damage done to the inside of that window frame. And then the floor, because see, those walls are set on top of the floor. The particle board floor goes through. So when the moisture gets through that bottom of that window and then down the wall and it hits that particle board, it wicks back. The particle board and it was regular plywood. Well, I was working on apartments Tuesday, and it does the same thing. It's not as bad, and it holds up a lot longer than particle board plywood does, but it wicks back the same direction. So what I would be looking next, when I instinctively look at the door, see how many, how badly the door's damaged. It'll be like a screen door that's tore off. And that's very common because the wind catches them, or people just go through them so much that they fall off. And they're not meant to last, 20 years, but they do. Invariably, because of that, the wind will drive rain into that door jamb, and it'll be damaged around that jamb. So I'm seeing the windows and the doors, and I'm okay. If the screen door is gone, the storm door is gone, that means that I have to do work around the door jamb. What's up?
Jay Tuber. I'm rebuilding my mobile home. I bought completed gutting and splice the frame joist and studs near the bottom.
The rim joist?
I don't know if he's talking about the rim joist or the floor joist.
So the rim joist is out at the end of your on the outside, holding your floor joist to go together. So you're having to rebuild that probably because you had some damage from leaking wall. Now that sounds like you got masonite siding. Again, that's something that if I was buying a home, I would pay attention to. Does
Have you ever installed cement siding on an old mobile home? Cement
yes,
siding?
yes, yes. Hardy board, lap
That's
siding.
more ya.
That's a lap. I've done the lap siding and the 4x8 sheets. I've done both the stucco finish and the T111 fake finish, and they hold that Hardy board. One thing about it is it holds paint really, really long. I don't know. I don't have. I know that there was one that I painted 10 years earlier, and it's gone. I don't know where it went. And it looked like I just painted it, and it had not been repainted because it was. I was able to see it driving by. It's the second house in from a road that I went by on the way to a barbecue place that I do a lot of work for. And I'd worked in that mobile home park a lot, and that house was exceptionally unusual in that she wanted to spend the money, and we did the work.
Is there a brand or a type that you recommend?
On it's Hardy board, that concrete board, but I don't think you can mess up. I don't think any of them are bad.
Just make sure you seal them and paint them.
It has to be painted, and if it's not painted, it will deteriorate. It will suck up water and deteriorate. But if you paint it, it'll last a long, long, long time. When you move it, if you move it with Hardy board siding, at least the 4x8 sheets, you might want to go back and seal up the cracks that where if they happen to be. I've not actually moved one that had the Hardy board siding on it. I have seen them go down the road, but I put them together with screws. Now I know that makes them stand out, so you kind of have to countersink them a little bit. But the problem is, if you use nails, they tend to suck out.
Yeah.
You know, you can use an air nail and you can do all that, but when it comes to lap siding particularly, I use screws, and I've not had any problem with it. I understand why you would use a large head nail, but I've done it on houses and mobile homes. Yes, and it's a good choice. It's not a cheap choice, but it's a very good choice.
Do you think vinyl siding is better or cement siding for a mobile home?
I think, well, I mean, I think Hardy board's a better choice. It's more expensive, and it's a little more labor intensive. If you don't have experience doing vinyl siding, it's the same amount of labor. But if you have experience doing vinyl siding, you're going to find that vinyl siding's faster and lighter. But is it better? No, it is not better. Plastic deteriorates eventually. I think concrete will last longer if it's painted. So
and not on the ground, isn't that what you said?
Yeah, you can't have it ground contact. The reason is the bottom edge sucks up water. If you're going to have ground contact with Hardy board, you're going to have to. What I ran into was trying to use Hardy board for skirting, and that was a problem because the J channel would hold water, and the water would hit the bottom edge of that. Even though it was painted, it would hit the bottom edge of that Hardy board and wick up. It'd take 3 years or something, but it would deteriorate and it'd crumble, and I'd be, they would say, hey, is there anything we can do about this? I'll say, you know what, I'll take care of it. Eventually I just wouldn't do Hardy board for skirting because the moisture gets to the bottom edge of that skirting and deteriorates it all. So when you're doing siding, it's not the same thing because you're painting all that. You're sealing the bottom edge. You're not sticking it in water like you would in a J channel. You're sealing it up good and using concrete and caulking to seal it up.
Okay, so you have to paint the cement siding. It does not come pre-painted.
It comes with primer. It looks yellow. It is not paint. It is primer. You have to paint it, okay? If you don't, 3 or 4 years down the road, you're going to know. So you got to paint it, and you need to caulk it. But that's just the way it is with any material. Vinyl siding is not that way. So vinyl siding, the issue that you have with vinyl siding is hail damage, heat, lawnmowers kicking up rocks, kids kicking anything, smacking the wall with when it was cold. It'll break. If you get your grill too close to it, it'll warp a whole section of vinyl siding. There's a number of problems with vinyl siding. It will last probably, depending on the situation, but most of the time 10, 15 years. Hardy board, I would suspect, will last longer, a lot longer. And it will take, having a barbecue pit up near it. One of the things I've seen here recently is where somebody has like a fire and it burns the grass across the yard. It gets up on, it'll cook the vinyl siding from the heat rising off that, probably a 3-inch, 4-inch high fire, puts out a lot of heat. It warps all the vinyl siding. I've seen this over and over again. And hail damage causes tens of thousands of dollars worth of work every year in this area. Hail damage comes through and it hits a section, and then all those vinyl sided homes. That is not happening with metal roofs or hardy board siding.
If I put a metal roof on top of the old thin roof, do I have to have vents to make it not sweat like it had originally?
What was sweating?
The vents are like plumbing vents and things like that, right?
You need plumbing vents, but if you're stripping it with 1x4s, the plumbing vents can open up underneath. The roof vents are important, not as important as you would think. Now, here's what I'm going to, and this is something I've picked up along the way. One of the problems that I'm running into is when people, including me, that have eliminated a roof vent or two, if you don't have a roof vent, what happens is it's called attic rain. So what happens is the heat in the cold winter, and the heat inside the house goes through the roof a little bit, because even though it's insulated, although not well, it's insulated, it goes through, and then it raises up and it hits that cold roof, and that moisture is condensation. It freezes to the bottom of that plywood, that OSB. And then when the sun comes out, it heats up that roof, and that causes that condensation to get wet. Then that moisture rolls down that plywood or soaks into that plywood and drips down onto the ceiling. That's what can happen if you don't have any vents at all. It doesn't.
Does a double bubble?
Does it happen? Does a what?
Does a double bubble?
No. The problem is there's enough heat from the sun hitting the metal or the shingles that if you don't have a roof vent to get the heat or the moisture out, the cold air, the heat coming from your ceiling through that, I could see that you could get a scenario where you didn't. I personally don't like roof vents. Now, I understand the importance of them, but I don't like them. I'd rather have a roof vent on the ends of a mobile home, like a house, or soffit vents, which you don't have any real soffit. You might have a little bit of a soffit, which soffit is here, fascia is here. But on the ends, if you could put vents there to pull that heat out of that attic so that it doesn't cause attic rain, that would be where you'd put your vents instead of on the roof where it's going to continually require your maintenance. Whereas, that's just something that I've picked up along the way. I don't like the vents on top of the roof. I understand why they're there. I would rather have the vents on the ends near the peak.
That's a good question. I don't think we've ever covered that.
So if you're asking me that would be where I would start. If you see houses, they'll have those vents on the end, and that's a good place. But what a lot of times they'll have is the whirlybird to pull the air through and out. Those round vents like that. But you can buy thermostat controlled vents. I just personally think that you ought to keep more the wind, instead of letting that cause condensation against the roof. You need to think about keeping condensation from being there, and that is caused by the the heat rising from the ceiling hitting the cold roof, and then the sun coming out and melting that frozen moisture. And if you'll look, you'll see attic rain in YouTube video. It's unusual, but it does happen. So I would recommend getting rid of roof vents and put them on the attic's peak, and then make a low draw vent, electric vent of some kind that maybe runs a little bit, doesn't draw anything. We've got one in the incubation room, and I think that would do a better job than any kind of roof vent that is going to cause you problems. Sooner or later, you're going to have to climb up there or pay somebody to climb up there to seal it. And by the time you remember to do it, it's already done damage. So I'd rather see it on the ends than on the roof. And I'm about keeping things simple, but that's what I would do. As far as the rebuilding that ridge beam, it's probably good for you to do that. Now, the easy part is tearing things up. The hard part is putting things together. And I admire your willingness to be stubborn about it. What I suggest is that you just hang in there and do a section at a time, because that way you won't be discouraged. You'll try to, so what I'm going to point to is that if you accomplish one room at a time, you'll look at your accomplishment better, where instead of a bunch of wreckage can be discouraging to come to. Don't get me wrong, I know how to get to the end of it, and I'm not doing it part-time. I'm on it until I finish it. And I have rebuilt several houses. I'm in the middle of rebuilding one of mine. So
I got 2 vents in half my trailer on the roof where the bedrooms and the bathroom is. I have regular tin roof. I want to put sheet metal roof like on homes. I'm thinking it wouldn't require vents. Yeah, he's talking about his plumbing. The one over the bathroom is a plumbing vent, right?
Is that what he said over the plumbing?
I have 2 vents in half my trailer in the roof where the bedrooms and bathroom is. I have a regular tin roof.
If it has a pipe going through it, that's a plumbing vent and you need it. If you can get it underneath the roof, that's fine. That means that you have 1x4s or 2x4s that you're stripping the length of the roof with. When you do that, you need to put insulation. It can be foam insulation in between whatever you put up there. It can be double bubble or something similar to this foil face to keep again, you're getting condensation from the cold air to the hot air on top will cause condensation, and it will drop down and go to the 1x4 or 2x4 that you have if you don't have insulation. That is, again, similar to what we're talking about happening on the attic rain situation. So if you're asking me, can you keep those? Yes, you can. I don't know what you're talking about, regular tin. You're talking about corrugated, regular ripples, and changing it to metal roof there's a lot of different profiles, but like a metal building, yeah, you're going to be a way ahead to do that. But if you do a tin roof,
no sweat vents for the attic,
if you want to call them sweat vents, but I can sort of visualize what you're talking about. I don't have all the information, but you're going to find that keeping what is the word? Your battle is not to let condensation get you, and that happens inside the windows of mobile homes. They'll have a storm window, a window on the outside and a window on the inside, and that difference in temperature between the inside of the house to the outside of the house causes the windows to sweat, and it ends up
we have a thunderstorm directly overhead, so
yeah.
If we get knocked out.
Yeah, Starlink. Well, I like Starlink a lot. It's been the best in this area by a long ways because they don't offer anything, and I don't understand. We're really close to a pretty good metropolis. But anyway, and just north of us, where it's way more rural, they have better. That's in Missouri.
Way better.
They have better internet. Some reason this area probably is being
less than a mile from Berry County utilities.
Really?
In places, yeah. Like over the hill, less than a mile.
Yeah, so If we have a problem, it's because the Starlink is struggling. It's done nothing but get better since we got it, and we were happy when we got it. Anyway, so what you're trying to understand is the difference between temperatures inside and outside is going to cause condensation. So if you put insulation underneath that roof, it will help. If you go directly to the shingles, you don't need to do that.
Or he's got 10, so he'd have to do the 1-bys and the double bubble.
Maybe he has. Maybe he's going straight to the roof, or somebody did. If you do go straight to the shingle roof, you don't have to put anything because there's no condensation there.
Well, what he's saying is he has a tin roof on the mobile home he's rebuilding, so he'll have to 1-by and.
He doesn't have to. He can if it's shingles, and he's taking the tin roof. If it's shingles underneath, if it's not, you're talking about
Yeah, he's got a tin roof.
A conventional tin roof that they make when they manufacture the home.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're going to want to strip it with 1-bys, and I've got videos on how to do that.
Yeah,
I've done it hundreds
We've
of
got a
times.
whole playlist that's nothing but metal roof and how to do it and what you need to.
And let me tell you, this is not the videos that you see are within 6 years of age, but I have been doing it in this area for over 32 years. I did it the first year I was here. Only because it was in demand. Somebody needed to come up with a way to solve the problems that come with tin roofs on mobile homes. It was a never-ending maintenance issue, and the wind causing roof rumble was always something that people had like, man, I need to do something. So yes, there's videos on what to do with it. Yeah, okay. I apologize.
That's why I was trying.
I'm working on a house where a guy drove his truck through the garage. That had a garage door, and it had a room in there, and his son was sleeping on a bed, and it hit his bed and bounced off the bed and drove through and hit the center wall. There was actually a bathroom there that kept him from crashing into the kitchen. He nearly drove through his house. So I'm working on that. So that's all conventional framing, flooring.
So I got to bring you back to mobile home instead of.
Well, my head is stuck in that. And then I went to work on an apartment complex this week. I haven't really worked on mobile homes this week. So I had to put on my hat mentally, and I'm sorry, I haven't been with it.
But he's asking good questions.
Yeah, you're asking the right questions. You're asking legitimate questions. Yes, you would want to strip it with 1-bys and use screws, and then do the double bubble that you could buy, and you can see videos. I've been using on occasion Prodex, which is a good brand. It's evidently not flammable, whereas all these other brands are highly flammable.
I'm a novice and I'm rebuilding a rotting trailer to live with. You're going to want to look at all of our playlists then. And if you have questions, bring them. We're here.
Yeah, that's what we're here for. We have a massive thunderstorm.
Yeah, but bring questions. We're here on Wednesday nights every week at 8 p.m. and on TikTok every Thursday at 8 p.m.
So what I'm going to tell you is, as far as the metal roof, there was a 80-year-old woman in Florida that called me up, and she was on early live streams, but she did it herself.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
She had a young guy hand her the stuff, but she wanted to do it. And then I had another woman in Georgia that did it. She hired guys, and she just looked at my video and told them, "Hey, do it. This is how he did it." And they hadn't any experience, so they were kind of like, "What? Are you sure?" Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, this is how he did it. And she called me up to let me know that it worked for her.
That's amazing.
So these are women that don't have any experience at anything, and I get a lot of thank yous. So this is not something that is tried a couple of years ago and don't know the results. This has been 32 years
of experience of rebuilding trailers from
rebuilding mobile homes inside and out. I promise you, if you take the time to do it right, your rewards are gonna be high. You're gonna be okay. and it's going to make you a better person and more highly skilled as time passes. So you're going to be all right.
We're here to help you.
Yeah, and that's really what this channel is about. And okay, let me put this in perspective. We make right now about $400 a month, less than 400.
Bastards keep decreasing my money.
Yeah, so YouTube is making more money, more money. We've got 4 million views history-wise in 6 years, mostly 6 years. 4 million views, and we're getting paid $300 a month. It's not about money, guys.
No, we're here to help.
She's got hours and hours and hours and hours and hours.
Wow, you did a good job, dude. I paid $13K for 1.5 acres and a trailer, trying to turn it into a nice home.
Yeah. So now you guess what you bought? You bought you bought the utilities.
Yeah, barely.
And you didn't, and that's not even paying for the land.
Yeah. It would cost you that much to put the utilities on that property.
Yes.
You did a great job.
You're going to be okay. And don't speak. You call it a rotting home.
It's not.
You are building your home. Don't speak things into existence. You can overcome this, I promise you. You're gonna have times when you're discouraged, but you need to, instead of gutting the whole thing, which is easy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Excellent job. Maria's saying, wow, good job, JTuber.
Yes, and you need to stay in there and finish one room. Then you feel comfortable that you did.
Get the roof done and then start slowly.
Finish one thing at a time, one room at a time. Go through that room, and then you have a room to put your stuff from the next room. But
yeah, it's so cool too to watch things compound.
Yeah, I promise you can do it. You're going to have to be determined, and it's going to make you a better person.
It was so bad you couldn't breathe in it. I gutted it all.
I understand why you did it.
You'll have a brand new home when you're done.
I understand why you did it, but I'm just telling. The easy part's tearing it up. I promise you, you're gonna be happy with it if you do it with quality in mind. So.
Especially if it's your personal home.
Yeah, man. If you paid for it, or that little amount, you can pay that off in no time.
Yeah, the mold smell is all gone. Yeah, it's discouraging, but you think of how proud you're going to be when it's all done. That's awesome.
So your journey is just beginning, and you're going to be a better person by the time you get done. And by the time you do one room, the next room you'll be better. So I don't recommend you start dead on in the living room. I recommend you start in one of the small rooms, like a small bedroom if you gutted it. Then you go like, oh, well, I'm better at that now. By the time you get into the living room where you're going to spend a lot of time and other people will come and see, or your master bedroom, if you want to call it a master, by the time you get into those, you'll be better at it. That makes sense. The kitchen can be a journey. And let me tell you something, if you want to spend $50,000 on cabinets, you can, but there ain't no need. You can get cabinets on Facebook sometimes for free. Good cabinets.
Because people will go through their kitchen and get rid of all their cabinets.
Yeah, they decide, I just want a better looking kitchen. I want it this or that. And
I would just keep a real close eye on Facebook Marketplace in your area, or if there's a free group in your area, that's another good thing. Or a homesteading group in your area, that's another good resource.
Freecycle.org.
Yeah.
There's several of those.
Yeah, that's why we were suggesting that. I figured you were doing it on your own. He goes, I'm going the cheap route on everything. That's why we're suggesting these different places. Also check Craigslist. They usually have a free portion of Craigslist. If there's a Craigslist in your area, those are all good places.
Just keep getting better. You're trying to make your life better, but you're also making you better. You pick your skills and you get better as a person. And once you've accomplished going through a difficult time, you know that you can do it. It's once you get to the point where you know you can, some of these obstacles that other people are like, I just can't do it, you're going past them. And
spend your money on tools.
You're gonna, you can spend a fortune on tools, but just use the tools pick up the tools that you need.
as you do it.
Yeah, and you can find, I promise you, if you're looking, you'll see it. If you're not looking, you won't.
We buy a lot of tools off Facebook here lately.
I think that if you look, we have videos on the tools that you might need.
Oh, how sweet! I got my old dad to help me out too. Cool beans. Is he in construction?
It wouldn't matter. I'd love to have my dad around, but he's not.
That's awesome though.
Thinking about spending some time with my uncle, who's just a few years younger than my dad, and working with him again. We worked years together, and there's a kindred thing that happens when you work with your parents. There's something that connects you with them.
He
And
built a house. Oh, cool. So he's got I would be learning everything I could from him.
yeah, don't get discouraged by all the things that he gets discouraged by in a mobile home.
A mobile home is a good way to rebuild your house.
By the way, when you finally get this house rebuilt and fixed up, go ahead and then you can build your house next door to it, and you're living in a nice home to begin with. Then when you build your bigger house, you can rent that one. I've seen it over and over again. So
I don't know how old you are, if you got older kids too.
Personally, I still think I can do it, and I'm nearly 65. Do it all the time. And I'm getting stronger. I'm not getting weaker. I know that at some point I will get weaker, but anyway. So we're in charge of ourselves, making ourselves better. So what I'm talking about is when you go into a home and you saw the door and you saw the windows, you saw the roof, you saw the doors, you saw the windows, you looked at the roof. When you go inside, you're going to look at what those things caused. If there is a problem, even if they replace the window, you're going to look and see if they fixed the floor underneath the window, underneath the door. So when you go in through that door, you're going to notice if the floor has been fixed or replaced. If it's soft on both sides of that door, you're going to step over by the windows and see if they're soft underneath the windows next to the wall. Because if it is, and it will be, you're going to have to fix that. All right. And you look up and you'll see stains on the ceiling. That doesn't necessarily mean it's leaking right there, although quite often it is. Sometimes there's a vent further over here and it runs down the plastic that's in the ceiling and goes to the outside wall where there's staples or nails holding those rafters on. So that's what you're looking at next. This is what I'm helping you to see when you're getting ready to buy a mobile home. You'll need to understand with each one of these things that we're talking about that there is work with it. And you could point it out to the owner, but I guess we're back. Heavy rain here, heavy thunderstorms, and it definitely affects Starlink, but it gets back. So when you're going in there, you're looking at the roof, you're looking underneath the windows, underneath the doors, checking for soft floors. Okay, and then how much of the ceiling is down. One of the things, if it's a rounded roof mobile home, is whether or not the rafters are collapsed in the center. And you'll see the roof, when you pull up, a lot of times you can see the roof where the rounded part is collapsing. And you think, well, somebody's been walking on the roof. No, and that's not what it is. What it is the roof has allowed the moisture to get back onto the wall, and the ends of those rafters are sitting on top of the 1.5 to 2 inch walls, and those rafter tails are broken and rotted. Okay, so when that happens, those rafters come down, and that causes replace that. And I've done it again and again and again with a rounded roof home and the collapsed rafters by just taking the ceiling down, which is usually like a cardboard-like material, and it has buttons holding it, and you just take all that down and put a 2x6 cut down. And I think I have videos on that also. When you do that, then you raise that rafter up to that 2x6, which is now straight, and then you fasten it to that 2x6, and now all of a sudden your roof is solid, everything's good, and you got the 2x6 to hang drywall on. Some can lights you can, and some different locations, strength for a ceiling fan that you might not have had, or a new location for a ceiling fan. Even if you can run and you're going to go all the way to the panel, you can run wire all the way through the ceiling to add a circuit. Guess we're going to have to stop.